Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, one of the last surviving human warships in the Orion sector. His face was pale under the dim emergency lights, and his crew moved like ghosts at their stations. The Zerth Dominion had come at humanity with a storm of fire and metal, and Earth's colonies were falling one after another. The Zerth were not like anything humanity had ever fought before. They were insectoid, their bodies sharp and chitinous, their ships built like swarms of predators. They never asked for surrender, never spoke of peace. To them, humanity was a stubborn infection in the galaxy, one that had to be burned away. "Shields at 20%, cried Lieutenant Harris, her voice cracking as the ship shook again. "Return fire," Elias ordered, though he knew it was useless. Their railguns were scraping at the enemy's armor like knives against stone. The battle outside was chaos. Human ships scattered like sparks, one by one being extinguished by the overwhelming swarm. Elias clenched his fists. He had sworn an oath to protect his people, but what protection could he offer now? "Captain, enemy cruisers closing in," said Harris again, softer this time. The desperation in her eyes said everything. Elias took a deep breath. "Prepare for emergency descent. We're going to crash on the moon below." Gasps filled the bridge. A crash was certain death, but staying meant only slower death in space. The Dauntless broke from the battle, engines screaming, shields failing. Enemy fire raked across its hull, tearing great wounds in its side. The crew braced as the ship entered the atmosphere of the jungle moon below. Heat built, alarms screamed, and the ship's structure groaned like a wounded beast. When the crash came, it was thunder. Elias woke to silence, broken only by the sound of crackling fire and the slow groan of metal cooling. His head throbbed, blood sticking to his temple. The bridge was in ruins, consoles dark, glass shattered. Around him the crew lay still. Some stirred weakly, others would never move again. For a long moment, Elias simply sat there, listening to the faint rustle of alien wind outside the broken hull. Against all odds, he was alive. But survival was a curse if there was no hope. He forced himself up and checked his sidearm. One charge left. It would not be enough against even a single Zerth soldier. Still, he could not give up. If there were survivors, they needed him. If not, he had to find some way to make this death count. The ship's hull had cracked open, revealing thick, dark jungle beyond. Massive trees rose into the sky, their leaves glowing faintly with strange colors. The air smelled of minerals and something sharp like copper. Elias stepped out carefully, scanning for movement. That was when he heard it. A voice, not in his ears, but in his mind. Human. Elias froze, his hand gripping his weapon. The voice was soft, wounded, almost fragile. "Help me." The sound seemed to come from deeper in the jungle. Against all reason, Elias followed. His boots sank into the mossy ground, and insects scattered at his steps. The air grew heavy, filled with clicking noises that made his skin crawl. At last, he entered a clearing and stopped dead. Before him lay a figure that could not exist. A towering insectoid form, her body dark and armored, but her eyes, great, luminous violet, burned with something he had never seen in a Zerth before. Pain, fear, and longing. Elias raised his weapon. His breath came hard. "You're the enemy." The creature stirred weakly. Her body bore deep wounds, golden ichor leaking from cracks in her carapace. Chains of alien metal bound her limbs to a broken spire of stone. "I am the Queen," the voice whispered in his head again. Her mandibles moved, but her words came straight into his mind. "They betrayed me. Left me here to die." Elias's heart pounded. The Queen, the source of the swarm, the one mind that controlled millions. If she truly was here, she was the most dangerous being in the galaxy. He should shoot her. Right here, right now. One squeeze of the trigger could save billions. But he didn't. Something held him back. Maybe it was the weakness in her posture. Maybe it was the way her great eyes, so alien, still carried a spark that reminded him of something human. "You expect me to believe you?" Elias said. His voice shook, her eyes glowed faintly. "I expect nothing. Only, help me, and I will help you." Elias stood frozen. He thought of the crew he had lost, the colonies burning, the war humanity could not win. He thought of Earth, waiting for salvation that would never come. Could he trust her? No. Could he afford not to? Also no. Finally, he lowered the weapon. "All right," he said. "But if this is a trick, I'll make sure you don't live long enough to enjoy it." Her eyes closed slowly as if in relief. "Human, you are not like the others. Perhaps this is why they fear you." The jungle rustled. Far off, Elias heard the chitter of Zerth soldiers searching. They were not safe. Not yet. He glanced at the broken chains, then back at the Queen. His fate and perhaps humanity's had just been tied to hers. For the first time since the war began, Elias Ward felt something strange. Not hope, not yet, but the faintest shadow of it. And he realized this war had just changed. Elias Ward had faced many impossible choices in his life as a soldier, but none as heavy as the one before him now. The Zerth Queen lay in the clearing, chained and broken. Her body shimmered faintly under the strange moonlight, her wounds glowing with golden ichor. Her huge violet eyes followed him, unblinking yet strangely soft. He should have killed her. Every piece of military training screamed it. She was the heart of the swarm, the will behind millions of enemy soldiers. Yet instead of striking, he found himself standing frozen, listening to her voice in his mind. "They betrayed me," she whispered inside his thoughts. "I am no longer their ruler, I am their prisoner." Elias shook his head. "Why would they turn against you? You're their queen." Her mandibles twitched, and he felt the echo of her pain. "Because I was not their slave. I ruled with my own will. The council of broodlords wanted only obedience. They bound me, chained me, to use me as a breeder. To them, I was a resource, not a sovereign." Elias's stomach turned. He had never thought of the Zerth as anything more than monsters. But now, staring at the Queen's broken form, he wondered if humanity's enemy was not as united as it had seemed. He knelt closer, scanning the chains. They were forged from a dark metal, humming faintly with energy. Human tools could not easily cut them. He touched one with his fingers and felt a faint burn, as if the metal itself was alive. "You're asking me to help you escape," Elias said. "Yes." "And then what? You go back to commanding your swarm? You finish destroying my people?" Her eyes flared faintly, and he felt not anger but sorrow. "If I wished for your destruction, I would not ask for your help. I would let my people finish you, but I see something in you, in your kind, something that terrifies the council." Elias frowned. "What's that?" "Hope," she whispered. For a long time, Elias was silent. Hope. It sounded so small, so fragile. But it was also what had kept humanity fighting when all odds were against them. Perhaps the Queen was telling the truth, or perhaps she was a master of manipulation. Before he could answer, the jungle around them shivered. Strange clicking echoed through the trees. Zerth soldiers. Elias raised his weapon. His heart pounded. If they found the Queen here, they would either kill her or drag her back to her prison. If they found him, they would rip him apart. The Queen's voice cut into his thoughts. "Release me, human. Together we may survive." He hesitated for only a moment. Then with a grim curse, he fired his weapon at the chain. The blast struck the metal, sending sparks flying. The chain cracked but did not break. "Damn it," Elias muttered. The Queen shifted, her strength weak but not gone. "Cut the lock, not the links," she guided him. He moved closer, aiming at the strange locking node where the chains connected. Another shot. This time the lock shattered with a hiss. and one of the queen's limbs came free. She stretched it slowly, her movement both terrifying and graceful. "Two more," Elias said quickly, already aiming at the next. The clicking grew louder. Shapes moved between the trees. The hunters were closing in. With two more blasts, the chains fell away. The queen rose slowly, towering above Elias. For a heartbeat, he feared she would crush him where he stood. But instead she bent her head low, her violet eyes glowing faintly. "You risk your life for me." "Why?" Elias kept his weapon ready. "Because maybe you're telling the truth. And if you are, then you're my only chance." A strange pulse moved through his mind, like a heartbeat not his own. The queen's presence pressed deeper, and he realized their thoughts were brushing together. He could feel her pain, her exhaustion, her pride. She could feel his fear, his determination, his stubborn refusal to die quietly. Her mandibles twitched. "Strange human. You are not like my kind. You feel for others, even your enemies." Before Elias could answer, the first Zerth soldiers burst into the clearing. Tall, armored, their claws gleaming, they screeched as they spotted him. The queen straightened to her full height. Her wounds slowed her, but even weakened, she radiated power. "Stay close," she said into his mind. Elias obeyed. The soldiers charged. Elias fired, dropping one with a shot through its head. Another leapt, and the queen struck, her freed limbs slicing through chitin with savage precision. Together they fought, man and alien queen, an impossible alliance. For every soldier that came, Elias's clever aim and the queen's brutal strength cut them down. Yet more were coming, drawn by the sound of battle. "We can't stay here," Elias shouted. The cave smelled of damp stone and strange minerals. Elias Ward sat on a jagged rock, cleaning his sidearm. The Zerth queen, Lir Asha, rested nearby, her great body coiled and wounded, her glowing eyes scanning the shadows. The silence was not peaceful. It was tense, filled with the weight of unspoken questions. "How do I know you won't betray me?" Elias asked, finally breaking the quiet. Lir Asha's mandibles twitched. "Because I do not need your life to betray you. I need your help. And because you are unusual. Your kind has a stubbornness that surprises even me." Elias snorted. "Stubborn, huh? That's a polite way to call us fools." She did not respond verbally, but he felt the faint echo of amusement in his mind. Somehow, despite her alien form and terrifying presence, she was beginning to feel human. The cave's entrance shivered. Somewhere outside, the jungle rustled with life and danger. The Zerth Council's hunting squads were relentless. They would not leave their queen behind. "We need a plan," Elias said, rising to his feet. His mind raced, trying to think like both a human soldier and a survivor in alien terrain. "We can't fight them all head-on. Too many. Too strong. We need traps, deception, and speed." "I can guide you," she offered, her voice echoing in his thoughts. "I know the land. I know the paths they avoid. But you must lead them, human. You will be their unexpected weapon." Elias frowned. "You mean I'm bait?" "No," she said sharply. "You are my partner. And you are clever. That is what makes you valuable." He could not help a small laugh, though it was shaky. A clever human and an injured alien queen. Sounds like a bad story. "Yet it may become a legend," she replied. The first skirmish came at dawn. Through the crystal blue mist of the jungle, shadowed forms of Zerth hunters appeared. They moved like a tide of claws and armor, scanning for signs of life. Elias felt the familiar adrenaline surge, his heart pounding. He led the queen through narrow paths, forcing the enemy into choke points. Lir Asha struck like lightning. Her limbs moved with impossible precision, cutting down warriors before they could react. Elias ducked behind her armored legs, firing his rifle at soldiers who tried to flank them. The team that once would have fought humans without thought now hesitated, confused by the queen's missing commands. Between breaths, Elias noticed something remarkable. The Queen's presence wasn't just deadly, it was commanding. The hunters faltered, unsure how to respond. Fear mixed with awe, and that hesitation, fractions of seconds, gave humanity the edge. "We can do this," he whispered to himself. Then louder, "Move, Queen!" She responded without words, her body flowing through the jungle like water, every motion deadly, precise, yet graceful. They moved as one, man and alien, their timing uncanny. By nightfall, they had fought through several squads, each smaller than the last. The jungle seemed to respond to them. Birds and smaller creatures, normally silent, gave warning calls. The Queen's connection to the world was alive, and Elias began to see how much she understood. "You are learning," she said again in his mind. "Not just fighting. You are understanding me." Elias's jaw tightened. "Or I'm just scared. Enough to watch everything you do?" "Perhaps," she admitted with a faint pulse of amusement in his thoughts. Later, as they rested near a river, the Queen shared a truth Elias had not expected. "This war is not about territory or food. It is about fear. The Council fears what humans inspire: loyalty, courage, unity. We were strong because we followed a single mind, but your kind. You inspire others, not through fear, but through hope." Elias swallowed. He had never thought of it that way. Humanity had survived countless wars, countless disasters, not because they were the strongest, but because they refused to give up, even when hopeless. And somehow she had noticed. "You're telling me my stubbornness terrifies a whole alien empire?" he asked. "Yes," she replied, her eyes glowing faintly. "And you will use that to survive. You are my unexpected advantage." Elias felt a strange sense of pride mixed with disbelief. A human soldier, just one man, could change the course of an entire alien war if he survived. The days passed, and the pair traveled deeper into the jungle. They saw the ruins of alien settlements, abandoned for reasons the Queen did not explain. Elias noticed how she moved, how she guided him, her senses sharper than any human could understand. In turn, he learned how to anticipate her moves, how to cover her blind spots. Their survival depended on this strange synchronization. Finally, they reached the edge of a cliff overlooking a valley. Soldiers moved below, guarding the road to the Dominion's central fortress. "This is it," Elias said. "If we go down, there, it will be suicide." "Perhaps," she admitted. "Or perhaps it is our only chance to reclaim what has been stolen from me, and perhaps from you as well." Elias hesitated. He had no reinforcements, no backup, no escape plan, but he did have the Queen and she needed him. He looked at her glowing eyes, at the strength despite the wounds, and felt a surge of determination. "We do it together," he said finally. "Together," she echoed, a pulse of connection running through his mind, stronger than before. Night fell, and with it the silence of the jungle deepened. Stars reflected off the river like shattered glass. Elias realized something profound. Survival was no longer about skill alone. It was about trust, about connection, about something stronger than fear or weapons. As they prepared to descend into the valley, the Queen leaned slightly toward him. "You are not like the others," she said softly. "Perhaps that is why we survive, and perhaps why humanity may yet change the galaxy." Elias nodded, a small smile forming despite the weight of what lay ahead. He did not know if they would survive the coming battles or what price they would pay. But for the first time since the war began, he felt something new. Not just hope, but purpose. Together, human and alien, they would face the Dominion. And somehow he knew they could not fail. The valley stretched below like a dark ocean of green and silver, dotted with alien patrols and the occasional glint of metallic structures. Elias and Lir Asha crouched behind a ledge, watching carefully. Every step they took into this territory was a gamble. Every moment could be the one that ended them. "We need to move at night," Elias whispered, scanning the valley floor. "Daylight would be suicide." "Agreed," Lir Asha replied. "But even night offers little safety. The Council has eyes everywhere. They expect treachery as much as they expect obedience. Elias's stomach tightened. He had faced death countless times in space battles, but this, moving through enemy territory relying on an alien monarch, felt far more dangerous. They descended into the valley as darkness fell. Shadows stretched long, blending with the alien flora. Lyrasha moved with uncanny silence, her enormous limbs barely making a sound. Elias followed, every step calculated, trying to blend into the shadows as best as a human could. As they neared the outskirts of a settlement, the Queen stopped abruptly. Her violet eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight. "We are being watched," she whispered in his mind. Elias froze. He could feel the tension in the air, the subtle vibrations that betrayed the presence of hidden hunters. Then, without warning, shapes emerged from the trees. Zirth soldiers armed and alert, their glowing eyes fixed on the intruders. "Ambush!" Elias shouted, raising his rifle. Lyrasha reacted instantly. Her limbs struck out, cutting down the first wave with precision. Elias fired at the others, covering her as they moved toward the cover of the ruins. Despite their combined strength, it was clear the enemy expected them. Every step was met with resistance. "Too many," Elias muttered. "We need another way. Follow me." Lyrasha's voice surged in his mind, and they darted through a hidden path that led beneath the settlement. They emerged into a tunnel that led deep into the ruins, ancient structures that once served as administrative centers for the Dominion. Elias's eyes widened. "This place, it's huge. We could hide here for days." "No," she warned. "This is not hiding. This is where we strike and where betrayal waits." Elias frowned. "Betrayal?" "Yes," Lyrasha said, her glowing eyes hardening. "I am not the only one who wants me dead. The Council trusts no one, and even allies can turn." Her warning became reality faster than Elias expected. As they moved toward a secure chamber, a figure stepped from the shadows, one of the Queen's supposed loyalists. The alien's armor was polished, its mandibles quivering in what Elias thought was surprise, but he now realized was malice. "You have led them here," the figure hissed, claws raised. "The Council will be pleased." Elias's heart raced. "No," he shouted. "She's not yours to betray." The figure lunged. Lyrasha struck first, but the traitor was ready. He twisted, slashing a hidden blade across the Queen's side. She hissed in pain, and Elias fired, striking the traitor in the chest. But more were coming from the shadows, alerted by the conflict. Elias grabbed Lyrasha's arm. "We can't. Fight them all." "We will fight," she said firmly, pain sharpening her voice. "But only together. Follow my lead." And so they did. Through narrow corridors and crumbling halls, human ingenuity and alien strength combined. Elias set traps and barricades while Lyrasha cut through waves of enemies. Despite her injuries, her movements were fluid, precise, and terrifying to watch. Somewhere in the chaos, Elias began to notice how much the Queen's presence changed the battlefield. Soldiers hesitated, confused by her defiance. Even allies of the traitor faltered, sensing the authority she still commanded. Her psychic influence pulsed subtly. The Dominion's central city loomed before them, a vast network of spires and towers glowing faintly with alien energy. From this heart of power, the Council ruled, their authority unchallenged, for now. Elias and Lyrasha crouched in the shadows, watching patrols move in predictable patterns. "This is where it ends," Elias muttered, gripping his rifle. "Either we strike now or we disappear forever." Lyrasha's violet eyes glimmered. "No, this is where it begins." Elias looked at her, confused. "Begins?" "The Council fears one thing more than my rebellion," she whispered. "They fear the connection I now share with you. That connection is something they cannot control." He swallowed. Her voice was not loud, yet he felt the power in her words. Something shifted between them, a pulse that reverberated in his mind. It was no longer just survival. It was influence, a force that could inspire, shake, and awaken even the most loyal soldiers. "What do you mean?" Elias asked, though a part of him already understood. "Watch," Lyrasia said. She raised a limb, and a faint hum filled the air. It was subtle, but those near them, the Dominion troops, stopped, uncertain. The Queen's presence flowed outward, touching the minds of those around her. Confusion, fear, doubt, emotions they had never learned to resist, spread like a wave. Elias's pulse quickened. Her bond with me. It amplifies her power, he realized. The connection they shared was not merely survival, it was influence, empathy, and something deeper, love. It was a force the Council could not anticipate. "Human," she said softly. "Your courage, your willingness to protect even your enemies. It strengthens me. Together, we can turn the tide." He nodded, determination hardening in his chest. "Then let's show them what humanity can do." They moved through the streets under cover of shadow, guided by the Queen's influence. Elias set traps, rigged energy barriers, and used the terrain to their advantage. Wherever they went, the Dominion soldiers hesitated, caught between instinct and the strange new emotions flowing through them. As they reached the central plaza, Lyrasia projected her presence to the entire city. A wave of psychic energy pulsed, outward reaching every soldier, every drone, every servant of the Council. Confusion spread. Some paused mid-step, unsure of orders. Others looked to one another, seeing the fear they had never admitted. Elias watched in awe. "It's working." "Yes," she whispered. "Love, courage, and hope. They are my weapons now, weapons the Council cannot comprehend." For the first time, humanity was not fighting alone. Across the Dominion, enslaved species and oppressed soldiers began to hesitate, to question, to rise. Elias realized that her bond with him, strengthened by his humanity, was inspiring rebellion. The Council, sensing the disturbance, unleashed their ultimate force. Massive drone armies, millions strong, moving with precision to crush all resistance. Elias's heart pounded. "We can't face them all." "We don't need to face them all," Lyrasia said, her violet eyes blazing. "We only need to show them that fear is not the only way. Watch and act, human." She released another pulse, stronger this time, and the drones faltered. Their programming conflicted with the unexpected emotions invading their circuits. Rebellion spread faster than any weapon could. Soldiers turned against their masters, refusing orders, freeing those who had been enslaved. Elias ran through the chaos, firing at anyone who tried to stop them. Lyrasia moved like a whirlwind beside him, cutting down resistance with deadly precision. Yet her influence reached farther than her limbs ever could. Every heart touched by the bond became a spark of defiance. "Do you see now?" she asked, her voice gentle in his mind. "This is why humans are dangerous. Not because of technology, not because of strength, but because we inspire others to hope." He nodded, his breath heavy. "And your love. It's the ultimate weapon." "Not just my love," she replied. "Your humanity, your courage, your heart. It completes the weapon. Together, we are unstoppable." The Council's forces faltered completely. The city erupted in revolt. Drones turned on their masters, soldiers abandoned posts, and alien citizens fled toward freedom. Elias and Lyrasia led the charge, their bond stronger than any armor, any weapon. The Council's leaders tried to resist, but it was futile. Their soldiers would not fight them. Their power, built on fear and obedience, crumbled against the unexpected force of hope and connection. Elias felt a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration. They had survived impossible odds, and now the galaxy could see something they had never expected. Humanity, allied with the most feared alien monarch, rising against tyranny. As the Council's last stronghold fell, Lyrasia lowered her limbs, exhausted but triumphant. Elias approached her, their bond pulsing softly between them. "You did it," he said, awe in his voice. "We did it," she corrected, her eyes softening. "You gave me something my empire never could." trust, courage, and the strength to believe. Your kind, it terrifies and inspires all at once. Elias smiled faintly, exhausted. Never thought my stubbornness would save the galaxy. It did, she said, almost tenderly, because it is human, and humans can change everything. Night fell over the city, quiet at last. The Dominion's armies lay in disarray, their empire fractured. Across the galaxy, the spark of hope had begun to spread. Humanity was no longer a prey species. It was a force to be reckoned with, clever, brave, and full of heart. Elias looked at the Queen, at her wounded but proud form, and realized something he could never have predicted. The galaxy had taught him many lessons about war, survival, and courage. But the most important lesson, one that no academy or battlefield could teach, was this: love, trust, and the strength to inspire others were the most powerful weapons of all. And in that moment he understood why the Council had feared humanity so much. The battlefield stretched across the Dominion's central planet like a living nightmare. Smoke rose from shattered towers, fires reflected in pools of alien metal, and the cries of fleeing soldiers echoed in the distance. Yet through the chaos, Elias Ward and Lyrasia, the Zerth Queen, moved as one, a force forged in trust, courage, and the bond that had grown between them. Elias, Lyrasia called, her voice pulsing in his mind. We have reached the Council's stronghold. This is the final step. He tightened his grip on his rifle. The human survivors and alien allies following them were weary, but alive. Their hope, rekindled by the Queen's influence. Each step forward was a statement. Humanity would not bow to tyranny, no matter how powerful the enemy. Are we ready? He asked. We are, she replied. Together, human and alien. Let them see the BB. Strength of unity. The Council's fortress was massive, a fortress of obsidian and alien energy, bristling with weapons and guarded by thousands of loyal drones. Elias felt his chest tighten. Even with Lyrasia's power, the odds seemed impossible. Do not fear the numbers, the Queen said gently. Fear is their weapon. We have something stronger. Her words resonated deep within him. Humanity had survived countless wars not because of armies, but because of courage, resilience, and the refusal to surrender. Now it would survive again. Not with sheer firepower, but with a force the Dominion could not comprehend. Hope, trust, and love. They moved through the shadows, Lyrasia's limbs slicing silently through the few patrols that dared approach. Elias fired where needed, but he noticed something remarkable. Even enemies not yet engaged hesitated, caught in the subtle psychic reach of the Queen. Fear mixed with doubt. Doubt mixed with curiosity. The bond, Lyrasia whispered. It spreads faster than any weapon. It is not destruction they fear. It is inspiration. Elias nodded. The Council could have armies, fleets, and drones, but they had never faced an opponent who fought with heart, courage, and connection. Inside the fortress, the Council waited, their figures glinting. Behind energy shields, they sneered, confident that even with rebellion they could crush the Queen and her human ally. You dare return? One hissed, its voice dripping venom. After your escape? After your failures? Lyrasia's eyes glowed fiercely. I return not as a prisoner but as a ruler restored, and you will see what fear is compared to unity. The Council unleashed their ultimate army, millions of drones and soldiers converging on the Queen and Elias. Elias felt his pulse quicken, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. But he did not falter. He had faced impossible odds. Before, and this time, humanity was not alone. Lyrasia released a pulse that rippled outward, a wave of psychic energy amplified by her bond with Elias. The Council's troops faltered, their programming conflicting with the surge of emotions invading their minds. Confusion spread and hesitation became chaos. Now, Elias shouted. He led the human and alien forces forward, cutting through resistance. Lyrasia followed, her limbs a blur of deadly precision. But the real power was not their weapons. It was the spark she had awakened in the hearts of those around them. Allies of the Council paused, unsure of orders. Drones hesitated, flickering as if uncertain whether to obey. Citizens who had been enslaved began to rise, joining the fight. One by one, the Dominion crumbled, not under firepower but under the weight of inspiration. Elias ran through the central hall, firing where necessary, while Lir Asha moved beside him like a living storm. Every soldier that fell turned into a lesson for the rest. Courage, loyalty, and hope were contagious. The Council's carefully built empire of fear began to shatter. Finally, they reached the Council's throne room. The leaders, pale and furious,